Yeah? So therefore, if you extrapolate that curve up forever, it's like the end of the universe, right? Now, how much of this do I explain to my wife? My explanation, I could have explained this whole thing. Okay, honey, there's the resonance. Resonance has a sweet spot, a regime. There's two parts. We're before the regime, after the regime, right? Right? Yeah? Did I explain that? No. My explanation to my wife of 3 years at this point, she's still married to me, okay, was, honey, hold on. And I hit the next one. She's like, ah! We hit the next set of washboards, right? It worked. It worked. The car stayed on the road. It stayed in one piece. It hardly, basically had this kind of crazy shimmy to it, right? It was kind of like a, kind of like one of those massager type things that like you put on your back, kind of like, ooh, right? The whole car was just doing this kind of vibration thing. Things were moving around on the dashboard, just like those electronic football players, right? From the 70s football games, right? They're just kind of like this, kind of like on The Exorcist or something like that. And now the only dangerous thing, I mean, I could steer and I could move, and there I was going 60 miles an hour, right? Okay. Now the only dangerous thing were the other people that weren't physicists on the road. They were going 25 miles an hour. I'm going 60, right? I'm boom by them, right? And they're like, how the is he going so fast, right? You know, okay? And I do regret I did pass somebody. They were in mud, and I just went flying by them. I'd covered an entire half of their car. Not like the side of the car, but half of the windshield, half of everything with mud. Okay, we're all going to the same campground, right? And I'm just like, hi. There we go. Okay, washboards on roads. Okay. Back to this thing, music, yes? If you play a certain note that another instrument can play, can't you make the instrument vibrate at that frequency? So I ought to be able to sing. I've never done this. Okay, I've done it once. I did it once in the hall. Some girls stared at me. I stopped doing it. But I ought to be able to sing to my banjo and make it resonate, shouldn't I? The banjo is at least somewhat a resonant thing, yes? Okay. There's always one more latch than I think there is on this thing, right? All right. So, banjo, how does it work? How does it achieve its annoying sound? Well, the string vibrates, right? And it vibrates the bridge. As it shakes the bridge. The bridge is placed on the drum head. The drum head shakes. The drum head can move a lot of air, but a string can only move very little air. So that's why electric guitars that are not plugged in, you can barely hear them, right? So like twang, twang, or something like that, right? But when you, of course, have a electronic amplifier on them, you make any sound you want, right? You know, incredible sustain because it doesn't have a bridge that it's losing energy to. In fact, on an electric guitar, they make the bridges purposely so that they don't let vibration out, so you get more sustain. Crazy thing, right? So if I sing this note, if I sing that note, I ought to be able to make the head shake. The head ought to make the string shake. The opposite, right? Da. What's the next note? Da. What's the next note? Da. Da. Thank you very much. All right. Now, that's a banjo. This banjo cost, how much did it cost? Yeah, it's a $500 and some banjo. How much does a Steinway cost? Why, they're about $50,000. Okay, so when I was in choir, Dale Worland was my conductor, and he had this habit. We would rehearse. Golly, I think it was 2 hours Monday, Wednesday, Friday, hour and a half Tuesday, Thursday, right? We would rehearse. His habit, he would come in. And honest to God, he would have a list of things he's going to rehearse. It's not like we'd sing through this song and sing through that song. We'd do these 3 measures here, then we'd do those 2 measures, then we'd put together these 2 parts on these 2 measures, then we go into sectionals, then we come back and do these like 3 parts of this thing, then we do this song, we do part of this, right? It was just amazing. He planned every second. He was amazing, right? He would also sit there, and this was his habit, he would sit there with his foot on the echo key of the piano. Big, grand piano, right? The lid is open to us, and we would be sitting there, like when we come back from sectionals, there'd be this cacophony, and he'd be looking through his notes, and then he'd say, like that, and I was like, you be quiet right now. and we would be quiet right now. Well, in that space where everybody was being quiet, Steve Shepard would sing a note from the thing. He had perfect pitch. He could sing a note and sing it perfectly in tune. And he could sing kind of a doo like that. And sure enough, what would happen to that string on the piano? That string on the piano would start to play. Yeah? Only Dale hadn't played a note, right? So he'd go, okay, be quiet. Everybody would be quiet, and then there'd be a note playing on the piano. He'd be like this, right? And then finally, Steve Shepard couldn't stand it. He'd just laugh, right? And then eventually it became, be quiet. Then he'd go, Steve, because he would do that, right? But you could do this. This is a fun thing to try. Cheat. Play the note, then let off the note, then push the note down without striking the string. If you push it slowly enough, the hammer never touches the string. It'll just go like that, right? Because the final position is actually off the string so it can ring, correct? Right? So push it down and then sing that note into the piano. If it's got a lid, just, sing into it. Try to sing a tone that's just as pure as you can and as loud and right on pitch. And you ought to be able to make that string vibrate. Isn't that fun? It's a test of how you can sing on key. If you're not in tune, you won't do it, right? Make sure the piano's in tune before you do it, right? Okay. Then here's your challenge. Hold down a triad, like bum, 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 something like a chord, and try to sing that chord. Bum, bum, bum. Right? And if you can do that, and of course the choir kids, the kids with perfect pitch would cheat, show off and do that. They'd hold it down, sing those notes, and they'd ring. Be like, okay, yeah, I can't do that. Right? But they would be like, oh, this is amazing, right? So you could do that. We've got the guitar, the piano. Let's see, how much time do we got? We got 5 minutes here. Okay. Garbage disposal. We've already talked about this stuff here. Let's talk about the beaker water Bay of Fundy, then let's make the school explode. All right. I think we go till 45, right? Okay. How many times have you carried a cup of water and you sort of you shake it, and if you shake it, sometimes no water comes out of it. I'm shaking it, right? But sometimes it splashes all over. Have you ever noticed that? Yeah, that's because you inadvertently, and it doesn't take long, you've hit a resonant frequency of that water. Now imagine if you had a bay that was so big that the water took 6 hours to slosh to one end, or 5.5 hours, right? 5.5 hours to slosh back. Well, what happens about every 5.5 hours? High tide, low tide. Yes, isn't that right? Yeah, kind of a thing, yeah, doesn't it? Yeah, there's 2 tides a day. They're about, 11 hours apart or something like that, right? Okay, so if you've got that going on, there's bays of all different sizes. Big bays slosh slowly, small bays slosh quickly. The Bay of Fundy in Maine, I think it's in Maine, isn't it? Right? The Bay of Fundy sloshes at exactly the frequency that the moon drives it with its tides, yes? The tides in the Bay of Fundy are like 45 feet. So people will go in there, they'll put their boat in there if they don't know what they're doing, right? They'll put their boat, they maybe even tie it to a dock, right? They'll come back 6 hours later, it'll be hanging off the dock by the mooring, right? Or, it'll be still tied to the dock because it's a floating dock, but it'll just be like sitting on the mud. Like, I guess I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, right. Not for another 6 hours, right? Nobody's going anywhere. Everybody knows it that lives there, but it's just incredible tides. And it just moves right in, and you just see it coming, right? Okay? And then let me just show you this. This is a fun thing. Okay? Bridges can resonate. Suspension bridges can resonate. And when I was a kid, there was a suspension bridge on the golf course near where I lived, and I would walk across that, and I put a little extra skip in my step, right? And I would, Tacoma Narrows Bridge collapse is the first thing that comes up, because there it is, right? Okay? I would put a little skip in my step, and I'd pump it along. It's got obnoxious music on there. And what's happening here is that the wind blowing across there, the wind blowing across this bridge is causing it to twist. That's its mode of vibration, right? It's causing it to twist. And it's doing that because what you can't see is that this leeward edge is shedding vortices. One time the vortex is going up and it's pushing the bridge down. And the next time the vortex is going down and it's pushing the bridge up. Right? It's giving it little nudges like this. right? So obviously